talking about children, talking about our nation, and the fact that we don't seem to care about what is the most precious of all possessions in the world. And how can it be anything other than children? What is that is more um, important than young life? 844-967-2789. What is it about our nation and people that run it that they don't seem to think that all children and all of their lives are valuable? We can't seem to get these things right. I was talking about this one yesterday. Some lunatic in Tennessee does not want to make sure that children in poor communities have food. We throw away more food than all the rest of the world combined every day. And yet we've got people in political places who think that we have to, before we give children food, we've got to figure out whether or not it's going to improve their grades. If he really understood, he would know that a hungry child can't function. But he doesn't understand that. He's not alone than many other people. Health care for children. If the parents don't have the health care, then they don't have it in many instances. How can there be anything more important in a civilized society than children? I'm starting to believe we're not such a civilized society as we claim that we are. And we need to stop it. You know, many kids, subpar educations. We know it. We understand it. But kids don't get to pick who their parents are. They don't get to pick where they come from. They don't know. They can only go by what's before them. And so, as a society, we have to do better. We can do better. And it's not just for our own children. We need to look to what kind of future does this nation have? You know, my window is closing, and my generation's window is closing. And don't we want, for those who have come after us, to have a better opportunity at life? What is it about us today? Well, you know, I got to live a good life, and, you know, so, you know, I can't be concerned about the others. I don't understand that. But more and more people are falling into that mindset. Clearly, politically, not enough people willing to fight for children. You know why? Children don't vote. So you as an elected official push the children to the back of the line. Democrats and Republicans push the children to the back of the line. They can't vote. What is that? And then we wonder when children grow up to, you know, become killers or robbers or thieves or some combination of all of those things. Children aren't stupid. Children are very bright. They know how they live. They know if they're transient. They know that their friends are not that. And so while a child is in those early development stages, we're failing them, we, as a nation. If we can, you know, expand our tentacles all over the world, and that's what we do. The rest of the world looks at America And we proudly say, yeah, we're going to fix it for everybody else. The rest of the world, we're going to fix it. We're going to make sure things are right for everybody because we're the great United States of America. But then in our own backyard. In our own backyard. Charity starts at home. And then it's spread abroad. But it's just the opposite. 844-967-2789. If I'm incorrect, correct me. But I know I'm not incorrect. You know, is it that we just are too busy in our lives? That we don't have time? Man, I love connecting with young people. I'm just telling you straight up. I spend more time working and talking with young people than I do with, I ain't going to say old people, but with adults. Because they see a different opportunity. Man, but we just fail to understand that when you miss out on them, the future of your nation is not very bright. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how great your military might is. None of those things. And those of you who have grandchildren, I mean, I don't have any. I long for grandchildren. But even though I don't have any, I find enough somewhere else. In my neighborhood, in my own family. Man, spend some time with them. And you see how bright they are. They are the future. They really are. We don't act like it. We still have time. But we need to put pressure on our elected officials on a national level as well as a local level to incorporate and include issues that are impacting and affecting children. Let's go to Rico from Rock County. Hey, good morning to you, Rico. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, Earl. Hey, I heard, I think maybe on your show or whatever yesterday or whatever, they're trying to tie now. They want to tie these test scores.
Yeah,
to
the
feeding
food.
these kids. Yeah, for a benefit. They say, well, we got to show some kind of benefit. And I'm like thinking, how cold-hearted and unthoughtless that sounds to me. It's like, you got a kid here that's got an empty belly and he's hungry. It's growling and stuff. And then we're going to feed him and he's going to be a fed child with a full belly. That ain't enough benefit for you. That's not enough benefit for you, that in itself, but you're going to happily go take your taxpayer lunch money in per diems. And you know what,
Yeah.
Earl? I'll bet they're eating good. I'll bet they're eating good, aren't they?
Yeah, so Rico, do you think that as a nation, man, we do enough to make sure that kids are healthy, that kids live in safe environments? All of those things breed a better adult, right? A secure child will eventually become a secure adult. We'll be a better society because of it. But why is it? I mean, our phone lines are open at 844-967-2789. Why is it all these other things that really don't matter? We focus on those things and we don't focus on the children.
And it's the hypocrisy, Earl. I mean, the number one thing we talk about, even last night on the debate, is the abortion issue. Worry about these kids. Worry about these. Well, you ain't worried about feeding them either. Taking care of them, letting them grow up, let their minds develop, so we can be a better nation.
Yeah,
teach them to get along with one another and love one another. Talk about your Christian values all the time. Teach them to love one another. Hey, you know what? All you Christian loving politicians out there, you know what? What's that verse go, Earl? I'm gonna suffer not the children, let them come unto me.
Suffer the little children that come unto me. We just have to prioritize it. And we have to make sure that children come first, not last. That's not the way the society has been. There's been a turn, and it's been in your and my generation, Rico, that we haven't placed the children and the importance of them where it should be. We'll be right back. Our phone lines open at 844-967-2789. Love to hear your view on it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. 844-967-2789. Text us at that same number. The children. Let's go to the phone lines. And Mary, my good friend Mary from Wauwatosa. Good morning to you, Mary. How you doing?
Hi, Earl. Just thank you. You're so right about kids and food security. I just followed an AI summit. It was called the AI in Your Life, the Essential Summit. And one of the people who was interviewed, his name was Hydrum Anderson, PhD. And so he wrote a book, and so he's donating proceeds to a couple of worthwhile nonprofits. One of them is called the Bountiful Children Association. And he said, which just took me back, he said that nutrition is the number one thing inhibiting children from learning and from, getting the education they so need. And it just shocked me. I think we all generally know that, but, this guy knows the facts.
Mary, it's the fact that, again, who speaks for children, right? Who speaks for children? And so politically, what is there to gain, unfortunately, by speaking for children? But I don't, Mary, I see you, you see children, you realize they're there, but so many of us don't. We look past children as if they're adornments, right? And so as a society, that's the way we treat children, as adornments. And then we wonder why they have the problems that they have. Man, the wealthiest nation on earth can do better and should do better. I would feel better if we spend more money on children than we spend on military might. I know I'm alone or don't represent a large swath of the population. But for heaven's sakes, I see enough children suffering, Mary. And it doesn't have to happen.
To voting age, they're going to be able to enact a values change here, and get us away from the skewed values that are driving us right now.
That's exactly it, Mary. The children will bring some sanity, because we clearly have lost ours. Thank you very much, as always, my friend. I really appreciate it. Listen, just frustrating to me. Never seems to be an important subject. I can say Donald Trump is a scoundrel, and the phone lines light up. Donald Trump is a scoundrel, but the phone lines light up. I can talk about, abortion. Phone lines light up. Hey, children in this nation and across the planet really dealing with some tough circumstances. And all of us have to do a better job. You talk about the daycare situation, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And we keep talking about the daycare problem in America, but I'm going to give you some statistics about a daycare problem globally. We can't find what we need to find. And it's almost as if with all these brilliant people that we supposedly have, all the brilliant people. You know, here's an article that I pulled out that I was going to talk about as well. And it says the Pentagon wants a new powerful nuclear bomb. Right? We got to get that done. $10 billion for one nuclear bomb. Hey, politicians. Hey, the Pentagon wants a $10 billion nuclear weapon. What do you think? Oh, well, we can get that done. The Pentagon wants, children are struggling, and we need to make sure that all of them are fed properly and that they're all going to be taken care of and live in safe neighborhoods and community. Oh, we can't do that. Hey, Tom, go ahead, man.
Oh, I'm going to say something. Hey, Earl, I'm going to say something controversial here, of course. But first off, I love Mary. She's the greatest. But I honestly do not want nonprofits having to do the different things that we, the people, should be doing through our government. As I told you in the past, the biggest lie that we have is that we care about our children. We don't care about our children. We just use them as props. We just use them as an opportunity. Oh, what about the children? Meanwhile, you got shootings happening in their schools. You got hungry bellies going on. You got all of these different, but we care about the children. I mean, I'll tell you what, this week, you're going to see, like you did last week, a football game on TV that, one, they always say, don't bring politics into sports, right? They always say that. But yet, they're going to fly the F-15s over the stadium. They're going to sit there and talk about, the military might of the United States. I'll tell you what, why don't they have a thing where they have, 50,000 kids or 15,000 kids show up at Lambeau Field, go out on the field and be like, we're hungry. Maybe that would actually get the American people to actually take some action, put pressure on their representatives.
So, Tom, thank you very much for the call. We've got to come back and we'll continue this on the other side. The American people are disassociated with children, and that's why we're in the condition they're in. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Text us at that same number. I'm talking about children. And you may not know it. Percent of the budget goes towards, the elderly. 25% Medicare, 14 to 15% Social Security, 5%, Calvin, for children. So just look at the numbers. 5% is spent on children. So why is it? Again, I said it earlier. Children don't vote. And it doesn't mean that they should be left alone. And have to continue to struggle. As Americans, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We need to fight for them. They can't fight for us. We produce them. They didn't produce us. Let's go to my good friend Eric from Tulsa. Good morning to you, Eric. How you doing, man?
Hello,
hey Eric, am I off base, man?
No. I just want to say something really quick about the Dream Weaver song. That's some old school stuff there.
Yeah.
But that same artist did My Love Is Alive. Love is Alive. That's always been a song that's been stuck in my head. My love is alive. Anyways, going on to what you're talking about.
Yeah. Gary Weaver is a great guy, man. Go ahead.
Actually, I just found, because I looked up really quickly, he passed away last month, or September of this year. So
okay,
he was 80. Yeah, I just saw this. Yeah. I didn't know much of him. I knew those songs by heart, but yeah, he just passed away this year at 80. Lived a good life.
Yes.
So I will say that capitalism and conditioning are the two things that drive us when it comes to mistreating children. And it seems as if capitalism, if left to their own devices, in a heartbeat would re-implement child labor the way it was in the early 19th and the 18th century, without a heartbeat. Capitalism, it's only federal regulations and, let's be honest, progressives and the Democrats that keep them from doing it again. And remember, our capitalism has kids digging up cobalt and other materials all over the world. We don't even see it here.
You know, Eric, man, and I'll let you continue, but I have to, you made me think about the fact that in Wisconsin, they have changed the laws that now put 10, 12-year-old children, in meat packing plants, right? I mean, come on, man. That's how much we care about the children, right? Well, so what the politricksters say is, well, we've got to put them in there because the companies don't have enough people to work, so we've got to put them in there.
They're trying to build a wall with doors.
Yeah.
They're replacing our it's unfortunate that we even rely on migrant labor the way we do in a sense, because we have people that either can't work or don't work or whatever it may be, because we keep building new things and having to make new things. Again, back to capitalism. But another thing I believe is that when you look at the GOP and the right and the Christians and their beliefs, is that I think I thought of this when you had the Whitney Houston song, is children being our future. That doesn't appeal because it means nothing to those believing in like the second coming, Armageddon, and the end times. Because for them, what drives them is what most benefits me and mine today.
Oh, no question, man. No question. It's about individualism. That's what our nation is about. And so because of that, it certainly doesn't lead to helping somebody else. But as a child, to expect individualism in a child who is in need, they don't interact. The child is in the way of my individualism. After all, we can't help children. Parents should be helping children. Well, if parents can't help children, man, not so long ago, couple of years ago, Joe Biden and Democrats, they enhanced the safety net, and they were able to create it through enhanced child tax credits. You remember that? Wasn't so long ago, yeah. Eric, and it lifted the standard of children in this country. They could prove it. $3,600 a year was the tax credit. And Republicans pushed back and said, we can't afford that. And they pulled that away. So, yes, Joe Biden and the Democrats did push for that. And it improved the lives of poor rural children as well as poor urban children. We've got to get beyond this divide, rural and urban, and that somehow, children in rural areas are and children in urban areas aren't suffering the same thing. Hunger is hunger. Homelessness is homelessness. Bad educational opportunities are bad educational opportunities, Eric. And we've got to bring them, all of us together, to fight for what is, without question, our greatest treasure, our children.
Well, I see that if you ever notice that the focus on poor is urban.
Right.
That's what the conjured idea when people talk about poor people. Unfortunately, it's conditioning again, back to conditioning. So it tells the white people we must be talking about black children, city children, inner city, the unfortunate, quote unquote. And so when you do that, it makes it easier to take away those programs because they're not telling people that percentages may be percentages, but in the gross numbers, there are far more, at least there are more white families and white children that are receiving welfare and SNAP and things like that across this country.
So
but if we don't hear about that, then we won't feel poorly about it. And we, the white people, are literally conditioned as best they can to not feel empathy for the inner city black children.
So Eric,
it's not such a bad idea to make it tough to
Eric,
get these programs.
Eric, you are 100% accurate, because in our state alone, the misconception that the poor, the people taking advantage of those social programs are black people in the cities. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Blacks only make up 5% of the statewide population. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. And yet in many areas, people have been led to believe that there's so many black people in the central cities, and they're just sucking up all the resources. Nothing could be further from the truth. But what is the truth is that children suffering in rural America and children suffering in urban America, they're suffering the same thing, man, poverty. It impacts the development of the children. And so we've got to get beyond all of that foolishness. They should have continued with the child poverty tax credit. But clearly Republicans killed it. Now, in rural areas, the poverty tax credit supported them and their children as well. People have to know what the truth is, Eric, And so it comes to a point where truth has to be disseminated. It's what I try to do every day. I know there are people who don't believe it, but like I always said, you don't have to take my word for it. Look it up. Only Turkey spends less per child as a percentage of the GDP than our nation. Listen to what I just read to you. Among the almost 40 countries in the OECD, only Turkey spends less per child as a percentage of the gross, the GDP, than the United States. Somebody tell me where that makes sense. It does not. Well, then why aren't we all fighting that same battle? Democrat, Republican, throw that out the window. When you realize what we're not doing. And then we ask the question, what's happened to our children? What's happened to our children? We have not prepared for them. We have not paved the way for them. And worse yet, it's getting progressively worse. Maybe you haven't noticed it. I see children wandering up and down the streets. I mean, it's not quite Calcutta yet. But that's what, you would always see when they would show you Calcutta. Yes, in America, children wandering up and down the streets begging. I see it. Do you? We can fix it. Why won't we focus on it? 844-967-2789. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. Listen, I'm talking about America and its relationship with the most precious of its jewels, and that's our children. One recent study in the top economic journal by Harvard economists Nathaniel Herndon and Ben Sprung Kaiser analyzed the bang per buck of government spending programs. They found that social spending on kids stands out as having far greater returns for society over the long run than spending on adults. Repeat that. Certainly more bang for the buck in the society when the money is spent on the youth than on, the elders. And the only recognition that you can really come to is that they don't vote. The returns are so large that it's possible that government spending on kids could end up paying for itself over those kids' lifetimes through economic gains for the kids and through reduced public spending on them through other social programs when they get older, i.e. prison. You can't beat people saying lock them up. We need more jails, lock them up, lock them up. That's on the other end where people who don't understand and don't get it. That's their answer to everything. And more jails, lock them up longer. Isa Hornis and Leela's Money argue that evidence is clear. Social programs aimed at kids are investments which have very real measurable returns for society. The returns of these investments can only be properly measured over the entire lifetime of the recipients and should be comprehensive in nature, including gains to schooling, health, and other aspects of human well-being. However, they write the federal government currently fails to take into account these long-term benefits. The Congressional Budget Office, which is the nonpartisan agency that informs lawmakers about the cost and benefits of programs, currently only looks at the effects of programs over 10 years. So when do we come? Those of you who have grandchildren, I see you. And I know the pride that I see that you feel. Because when you have grandchildren, what you do is you get another chance. You know, maybe we didn't get it right with our own children. But I've talked to many grandparents, and they have a second chance, a second opportunity. It's the way they look at it. And they put more into their grandchildren sometimes than they do what they've done with their own children. So we've got to figure out what's more important. Sending rockets to the moon, ships blowing up too soon. Come on. What's more important? Nothing should be more important than our children. Nothing. Not your money, not the government's military. None of those things should come before making sure that children in this nation and then assisting children all over the world get a great opportunity at life. Maybe we forget, right? When you get older, you forget. I always say to children, and I talk to children a lot, groups of children, and I always say my generation got it wrong. I'm speaking for us. Our generation got it wrong. Our selfishness. We have turned away from you. And we don't understand. We don't live on this planet as the elders and you as the youth and the young and the children. We all are interconnected. But the responses you get is, well, we need children and parents need help with daycare. Well, they shouldn't have had the kids. These are the responses that we get today. Never mind that when my children were going to daycare, it was easily affordable. It's a different world now. It's a different time. And yet, And yet people forget. They act like the world ended after we became adults. Well, it didn't. I'm a person at my age who is still engaged with young people. I learned how to stay young. Guess what? I hang out with young people. I don't hang out with people in my generation. Because people in my generation, unfortunately, see things through the wrong prism. Me, myself, and I. And my toys. And how much more can I get? Even though whatever the amounts of that you have will outlive you. Listen, we got to go. Thank everybody who made the show go. Guess what I'm getting ready to do, Calvin?
What is that, Earl?
Go hang out with some kids. I'm telling you, man. It's true. Thank everybody who made the show go. And I'll be back on tomorrow. Thank you, Calvin, as always. You've been tuned into the Earl Ingram Show. See you later.